everybody. Welcome back to Low Mouse Spark. This guest is a familiar guest. I kind of feel at this point it's just you interviewing me and me interviewing you on each of our podcasts. But couldn't be happier about this because we're going to talk about a book on intelligence that you have written. And I believe in intelligence because you're the smartest motherfucker I've ever met. So now you're going to convince me why intelligence doesn't exist in your
See,
new book.
immediately, what you should gather from that is if I to you am the smartest person, then what I say should be right. Therefore, there's no such thing. So,
Awesome. So describe your book.
um,
What's the
so,
title? What are you
so yeah,
doing? Let's go.
this is my kind of second real book, as I would call it. Obviously I wrote kids books before, but I had my first book on which came out a few months ago called Awaken Awareness, Mindfulness in the Age of Distraction, which is on mindfulness and mental health. This one is actually the first book I ever wrote. It's just that it's taken a long time. So I wrote it years ago. And so the references, a lot of references were just not right. I say a lot of the references were not right, fully knowing that I have a reference in there from the 1800s. So, but but
What's the title? What's the title of the book?
so it's Smart as a State of Mind. And I wrote it a long time ago. Basically, the reason it hasn't come to be until now is because I just always had it in the back burner, and I was always just tweaking something and doing this.
Right.
But then after kind of using Awaken Awareness as my kind of, this is the first real one. Let's see how that goes.
Right.
Not liking the margins is the only thing that I didn't like about that, but everything else was fine. And so I'm like, okay, well, now I can do it. I can get my main book out there, which is actually shorter. It's a shorter book. It's not as many pages, about 150 pages, 160 pages.
It's only like 900 pages, let's be
it's,
honest.
it's about 150, 160 pages. I think maximum
Right.
would be about 200. I'm just now going through it basically one last time, chapter by chapter, going, yeah, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense anymore. Okay, well, actually, that's that now. And so I'm just making the last minute stuff, but it is coming out on May 26th. So that is the date of release. It'll be worldwide
Awesome.
on Amazon, May 26th. I've actually put
Oh, you hear that, everybody? May 26th.
yes.
6th. Buy it now. Buy it right now.
So if you're watching this on May 26th, yeah. So hopefully once it goes live, we'll get a link below. But the idea of it basically, as you hear in the title, is smart is a state of mind. And that's kind of the point of the book, because a lot of time when we discuss intelligence as this is intelligence, the first thing you've got to try and do is go, what does that mean? And it's never that easy to actually describe. In fact, people have been trying to describe it ever since they came up with the term. It doesn't mean you can remember things, doesn't mean you can work things out, doesn't mean that you can do this, that. And it's like, well, every time you say one of the things that somebody defines it as, you can find a way in which that would be useless somewhere else. You know,
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking, magnificent scientist, far considered by far one of the smartest people ever lived. Not going to be much use to me in the middle of the Mahamara. Whereas
Right.
one of the tribesmen there is exactly who I need, because they can make the shelter for me. They can understand how the movement of the animals there are going to mean that I can avoid them. They're going to keep me safe. That's
Right.
what would be technically intelligent or smart in that situation, but put it in a Western
Right.
dominant kind of cultural ideal, that's not intelligent. Why not?
So I feel that. I feel that like tremendously because I feel like I am brilliant
Mm,
in some things,
yeah,
absolutely brilliant. In others, like you're not gonna want to hire me to like go pick up groceries or do this thing because don't give me a list. Like I can't. I just
yeah, yeah,
can't. But
yeah.
I'm highly intelligent in knowing what people need. Is there science behind
So yours
that?
yours would be what we currently. I mean, this comes from Galton, who wrote about the many intelligences, and one of the ones that kind of comes out of that, and it's been talked about in many different places, is emotional intelligence, which is what I think
Okay.
you'd probably score far higher on emotional intelligence than I would, for instance. I'm fucking useless at emotional intelligence. On a
Right.
normal IQ test, intelligence quotient, I score high. On intelligence quote on an there emotional IQ test, I'm useless. Emotional intelligence, I'll score poor as hell. You would score very well, I would imagine. And this is kind of the point: is that the structures that we put in place, what tells us that somebody's intelligent, are reinforced by the people that then get to the top of those in the first place. The one of the most
Right.
amusing to me is that the person that has the highest recorded IQ test, as it currently stands, is a psychiatrist and psychologist. Guess who writes IQ tests? Psychiatrists
The
and
psychiatrist, the psychologist.
psychologists. it's it's literally built for those that kind of come from that thing. You'll often find that people that have had a university education have higher IQs or higher understanding intelligence. The problem there being, of course, is they have those because of the structures they're taught to work in line with that then makes sense on an IQ test. Whereas if you talk to one of the Maori of New Zealand, like Australia, the indigenous peoples there, they don't have the same structure of education as we do. They're going to be incredible in their terms there, but they're going to score very badly in terms of an education or knowledge base that we have here in the West. It really messes
Okay,
up.
so I've never had an actual IQ test, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't even know what goes into that. Like what is an IQ test? Like
So
I,
the one that we generally use is called the Stanford Binet testing,
okay.
and that's what's used as kind of the baseline for, say, Mensa, international
But
IQ.
how does an IQ test go? Like
So
what do
it's
they do in that?
well, this is the problem because the way that they ask questions, and I know there may be people watching this going, "Oh, well, they're doing a non-cultural one." It's not non-cultural, but the idea is when they write it, it's like it's basically a multiple choice test and test for most of it, for the most part anyway. And it's like, how does this relate to this? If this relates to this, if you do this, what will this mean? And it requires that you've had an education within the system that that test is made for, because that test is written for people from a specific educational background, and so the relation of certain things to certain things makes sense to someone in that cultural setup. So for
well,
instance,
that's not fair. That's not fair.
exactly, that's why people not from those cultural setups don't score well in them. So for
Okay,
instance,
so it's biased as shit,
oh
is
yeah,
basically what it
absolutely. And Benet, who was behind it, Benet, who, as I say, it was originally done for that. Benet, who created it, the original reason he created it was because it was meant to, basically, it was meant to help students that were struggling. That was the idea of it. It's a kind of a, hey, if you're not doing well on this, we'll give you some help. That was the idea of it. And then it was adapted and tweaked and things, and suddenly it's a marker of intelligence. It's a hierarchical system of who's best. And you're like, well, no, it's not. It was never meant to be that.
It
And that's
reminds
the
me of the
problem.
SAT. The SAT in
The SAT
America.
is based on it. It's based on IQ tests. That's what they all are. All of them are based on IQ tests. So
See, I hate that.
yeah, and you should. I mean, there's a great education educational I've forgotten the term I'd call him now, but a person from educational background here in the UK, sadly passed away now, called Sir Ken Robinson, and he did a wonderful speech for TED Talks once. And the one of the best ways of describing what education was, and this was actually required a required watch when I was doing my teaching qualification, which I actually, well done to whoever came up with the curriculum for that, because it's good. And the idea was basically, he said that there was a friend of his who at school, they never paid attention in school. They didn't pay attention for maths or for science, and they just danced around all the time. That's all they did. They just had full of energy and they just danced around. That's all they wanted to do. They went and saw the principal, and obviously the principal said, well, there's issues here. And then the parents, because the parents had the money to, took her to an educational psychologist. They took her to this person, and this person just went, okay, I just want to have a word with your parents for a minute. And they went out of the room, and it was basically two-way mirror. And he just went, watch. And when they weren't in the room, she danced around. She just kept dancing. And the educational psychologist just said, there's nothing wrong with your daughter. She's simply a dancer. And that girl that was that from that story, she is now, or was at the time when Ken Robinson told the story, she was one of the lead choreographers for the National Dance Organization in the UK. That's what she become. So
Hello.
exactly, she had
That
done what she could
are
do,
you
and
kidding
that's
me?
exactly, and that's the point. But on an IQ test, on any form of intelligence, anybody, her marks were awful, obviously,
Yeah,
but that's not what she was good at. She was good at this. And this over here is what was great for her. Her creativity, her human development, her potential was something completely separate. And the thing is, it's not to say that you can't say someone has a scholastic prowess, someone is better in educational terms than somebody else. Cool. But the problem comes when we call it intelligence. So for IQ test is intelligence quotient. That's why I'd say IQ test, because they use the word intelligence. When we look at somebody at university, we often say they're intelligent. If you get the highest marks, you're intelligent. It completely wipes out any idea of relational interactions between friends and family, community. It wipes out
right,
any emotional intelligence. It wipes any kind of indigenous knowledge of certain things. There's a reason that indigenous populations in certain areas have managed to stay there, even though it's dangerous, for hundreds of years, because they understand what they're working.
right. And your book goes through all of
I
this,
do talk
like
about, yes, I
chat.
talk about,
Okay,
there's two specific
it,
indigenous areas that I talk about in chapter 9, 8, 9, one of them. And I talk about the fact that's the case. But the biggest issue, as I say, is this overarching idea that we have of calling it intelligence. And we've given a marker that intelligence is here. We've created a hierarchy. And the problem is that our education system, our societal organizations, they are all part of this self-fulfilling prophecy that continually perpetuates an idea of hierarchy. It says that if you're in terms of intelligence, someone's here, someone's here, someone's here, someone's here. And it shouldn't be. You shouldn't meet someone and go, "Oh, you're really smart." You should be able to go, "Oh, you know what? I didn't know that shit. Oh, I didn't know that shit
so
about
this is so this is really brilliant. No pun intended. You're
you."
shifting the roles here. It's basically, I essentially think what you're saying is everyone is intelligent at a certain thing.
Yes, but I wouldn't use the word intelligent. So what I do use.
Okay. So
So,
explain that.
so that's so the reason I wouldn't use intelligent is because it comes with too much baggage. You say intelligent,
Okay.
it comes because again,
I
if
like brilliant, by the way. I like brilliant.
so
That's it.
if you have like the word intelligent, for instance, it has 50,000 different definitions of what somebody can think of as intelligent, which immediately means, well, what the fuck is the point in the word?
Right.
If I say that, these scissors have a white handle, some people might go, okay, well that's more white or that's cream. Okay, two definitions of what the color is. If I just went, this is, white, and somebody just went, actually it's black, it's green, it's yellow, it's brown, it's orange, it's purple, it's polka dot, then this is no longer fucking white. That's the same thing with intelligence. Is intelligence? Oh well, it means this. Well, no, I think it means this. Oh, actually, it means this. It means this. It means this. Then what's the point of the words? But the point in the words, and this is where it becomes pervasive and really kind of pernicious in society, is the reason we use that word is to keep that hierarchy. It's to push down everybody else that doesn't align with this. One of the funniest things
Got
is
it.
when I first came up with this idea, um, I talked to people within the high IQ society and the high IQ community. This is a long time ago, but I literally had one person question my IQ because they said, "Well, my IQ must be higher because you're saying this." Because there's an inbuilt switch that says, if you're intelligent, you are here. End of. That's it. It's the same thing we used to think about is somebody's brain being
Such
bigger, for
bullshit.
instance.
I'm
We used
sorry.
to we used to have this idea of, oh, if someone's brain is bigger, then they're smarter. Okay, that fell down when we found out that Einstein's brain, for instance, was actually slightly lighter than the average. And Einstein had this thing about this, and this person had this thing about this. People have skill sets, and that's the term I think we should use
There it is, right there.
because
That's
skill sets,
it.
oh, your skill set is this, your skill set is this, your skill set is this, your skill set is this. Cool.
Yes.
Because if your skill set is what we call education, or again, scholastic prowess, if it's, university things, then cool. Okay, well that means that that stream of education is for you. If it's vocational, like you're a mechanic, you're a craftsman of some kind. Well, then what the fuck is the point of you are better here? Okay, that doesn't
Right.
mean that you are dumb, stupid, whatever. That just means that you're here because that's your skill set. That's not theirs. That's how it should
Right.
be. Is to have
Yes,
those streams.
I agree with that. That actually can help a lot of people like me or like any neurodivergent person understand that they're not shattered or
No,
broken in this system. So what you're actually doing, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, is helping everyone.
I think it's just important because I've seen the hierarchy so much. I've seen the hierarchy so much, and the thing is, I'm a result of the hierarchy. I do have some scholastic prowess. I have gone through
Yeah,
that system. I do sound the right way when I'm talking about things,
right,
and
right.
and
I don't,
it's
as you know.
and the thing is, and because of that, and the thing is, I actually have a chapter called confidence, not competence. And the reason for that is because I
Oh
sound a certain
yes,
way, I sound more confident in a lot of things, and therefore there's an assumed competence. Somebody can sound confident as hell, but know fuck all about the subject. And that's why when I first came up with this idea and I was first writing it, I think it was like the first chapter, I showed it to someone and their immediate response was, "But I thought you were smarter than everyone else." And I said, "I never said that." And what it was, and it's the reason that I ended up writing the chapter on confidence was they had assumed the way that I spoke with confidence because of my upbringing and because of that inbuilt hierarchy that was already in me, that I then thought I was something else. And I was like, okay, I need to address that in the book. That's why
awesome,
confidence, not competence, is there.
awesome,
Because I was like, okay, well, they've thought this. I didn't mean that. I don't want other people to think that. Okay, so we need to address that. I mean,
awesome.
one of the obvious things, if you think about sport, for instance, there's two sportsmen that I always use for this, and it's Ronnie O'Sullivan and David Beckham. Now, depending on where you are in the world, you will either recognize both, neither, or only one. And it's probably David Beckham, I know. So David Beckham is obviously a retired football player. Played for England, played for Manchester United, Paris Saint-Germain, everything else. Ronnie O'Sullivan is one of the greatest snooker players of all time. Now, the thing that they both have in common is they are doing mathematics in their head automatically, but they won't call it that because they've practiced it. And this
Why
is
not?
the difference. Well, here's the difference because when we use the idea of intelligence, we don't really combine it with things that people have learned. We kind of say, you're just an intelligent person. When you talk about kids, for instance, we talk about gifted kids. How about they just
Yeah,
fucking worked? Because actually, this is the thing. It takes away from kids that have worked. Kids that have worked,
yeah.
you then call them gifted, and they're there going, "Well, wait a minute, I fucking worked my ass off for this." You're just saying, "I've just magically got this." Fuck you. But the thing with David Beckham and Ronnie O'Sullivan is so Ronnie O'Sullivan with snooker, obviously he can hit the white ball off of 15 fucking cushions, hit the ball that then spins into another ball to get it in the pocket. That's a mathematical equation he's just done in his head. But he's done
Right.
it without thinking. It's just a skill. It's a skill set that he can just do. The same with David
Yep.
Beckham. David Beckham can run at 15 miles an hour, hit the ball with a wind of 20 miles an hour to someone that's 10 foot in front of him that's running at 25 miles an hour and put it at their feet. That's applied mathematics at a high enough level to be PhD. But it's just innate because he practiced that when he was a kid. He practiced football. He practiced how to do it. Same as Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Practice, practice, practice. And it just becomes an innate skill set. But everyone else is like, well, yeah, but that just means that they're gifted this and not this, that. No, they fucking
And
work.
you know what practice does is it makes you unconsciously competent in what you're doing,
Yes.
and that's I think what you're saying. Also, I have to give an example for everyone listening to
Yeah.
this. What you just said is incredibly awesome because, for example, I'm dyslexic as shit.
Mhm.
I don't know how to do maths, and I'll say maths because it's
Just
but
learn the English.
I'm from I'm from America. You're right. I'm from America, and I honestly math is not my thing. I'm not really good with numbers or whatever. However, American football, there are 11 players on a team, right? 11 players on the field at any given moment, going against another 11 players on a team. And when someone says, okay, here's they're running a 4-3 defense. Okay, so we got 7 players there. But if that was explained to me differently, as in what is 4 plus 3, I'm going to say,
Yeah.
to me, I don't know that. But if four, and I know that makes me sound like an idiot, but I'm not.
Not at all. I mean,
Like that's the.
that's the
Does that
thing.
make sense? Like
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
okay.
So
You're running a 4-3. That's 7 players in this box, and then how many we have left? 4.
well,
So let's put
here's the
those
thing.
people like.
At what point did you get told you couldn't do maths? Because I'm guessing it happened.
Oh, like kindergarten,
There you
probably.
go.
I
And then
I
from
mean,
then
I was
on,
held back in
so
kindergarten,
here's the
so
thing. From then on in, you couldn't do maths. But it's not that you couldn't do maths. It's just that they
right.
told you you
It,
couldn't.
it
And
was the
that's the
way they
confidence.
explained it to
Well, it's not
me
even
that
that
I
it's not even that. It's more insidious. It's that they tell you you can't do it. So
right.
I
Yeah.
was a maths tutor. I still occasionally do it. I've worked as a maths tutor. I'm registered with one of the local universities as an accepted maths tutor for them. The biggest thing that I find with the people that I come across is they say, I can't do maths. We start doing it, and I'm like, yeah, you can. The only difference
Yeah.
between me and them is I know I'm right the first time. The
Yeah.
biggest problem that so many people do, and I've seen this over and over again, is they'll do an answer, then they'll question it, and then they'll get it wrong because they question. I'll do it and just go, that's right. That's it.
Right.
That's because my confidence, because I was told I was good at maths. So my
Yeah.
confidence then became part of it. So I literally had someone years ago, his next partner, who kept getting an equation wrong. They were doing a nursing degree, which does worry me about this university and their nursing, but yeah. They kept getting an equation wrong. Kept getting this equation wrong. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, that's what am I doing wrong? And they came through to me in the other room and just went, you can do maths. What am I doing wrong? How is this always wrong? And I just looked at it and just went, you're not wrong. The book is. And that was
Yeah.
the only difference. They had got the same answer as me every time. Is that I had the confidence to go, the book is the one that's wrong. They went
Yeah.
to the university, told the university, they agreed. Yeah, actually, the book's wrong. But that's the biggest thing, and that's the one that holds people down. Because again, this hierarchy. She came to me to go, you are good at maths. No, so are you. You got the same fucking answer. It's just
Right.
that I was already put here for the hierarchy of an idea of intelligence. She wasn't.
Right.
But there was no difference in the actual skill. So
Right.
if there's no difference, there shouldn't be a fucking hierarchy.
Which proves your exact point.
Yeah. Why is there a hierarchy? There shouldn't be a hierarchy. But that's the problem. That's one of the biggest and most pervasive problems when it comes to this, is because that hierarchy is there. So everything in society feeds back into itself. And the worst thing is that then when we try and go into other countries to help out in terms of, education, for instance, let's teach people to read in certain country, whatever it is, we take our fucking ideas with us. Well, the problem is that
Right.
our cultural ideas that are fucked up already are in the face of the stuff that they already know, because they know their surroundings better. They know how it works for them better. But then we
Yeah.
start going, yeah, but you're stupid because you don't do it like we do it. No, they're not.
Right.
Yeah, look at
I want to.
I think it's Japanese or Indian, one of the two. The way they do maths, you'll see them do this with their fingers, and they are counting out huge numbers with their fingers. That's not part of Western way of doing maths. So we'd go in there and go, well, that's wrong. No, it fucking isn't. Give him a calculation. Give him a calculation and see which one of you does it faster, because it's not going to be you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this to, I guess, further explain this situation that I have with numbers
Mm,
is when if I'm told 4 plus 3 equals 7, I want to know why.
yeah,
Like what? Like why?
yeah,
Okay. So in American football, it's well because of this.
yeah.
These two people split here. These people drop into zone. This person rushes like so that
Oh, I'm
I
with you.
understand.
Oh, I so this is
But like, what is the fucking point of
uh,
why is it
this
7? Why
this.
can't it be 10? Like
So this got this. I remember getting into an argument when I was at school, because I hate calculators. I,
you
I
got in an
hate
argument,
calculators.
right?
They're bullshit. I
Right.
actually like abacuses, which again they use quite a lot in the East still. But abacuses, literally do what you just said because you can physically see the things moving. Okay, well that and that.
Yes.
Okay, well that and that. Okay, well that makes 7. You see it. You see
Right.
it. Like,
But when you see numbers on a fucking chalkboard, it's 4 + 3 = 7.
yeah,
Why?
and that's the thing. You can build up from it.
That's
And the thing is, it's fucking easy to explain that to someone. It's just that teachers don't, because again, oh well, that's just a
right.
stupid question. No, it's not. It's just a question that doesn't align with what you've been told you should look for. That's all it is, and that's the problem. Is for how individual people's minds work. There's different ways of understanding it, and
Right.
I've always said everyone can do this stuff. It's just that you need to be taught in a different way. Everyone learns in a different way.
Yeah.
Everyone teaches other people in different ways. One of the best ways I think that I learned actually, and I think is for a lot of people, the best way you learn is by actually teaching other people what you're doing, because then
If
you
you
start to
can't teach
realize.
it, you don't know it. That's
Because
the whole thing.
well, it's more than that. I think you actually learn it more when you teach, because when you teach, you
Yeah.
start to realize that other people find it hard. So maths,
Yeah.
for instance, when I started teaching it and tutoring in it, I realized what other people found hard, which I never found hard. So I never knew that was a thing that I should learn to teach. Well, now, okay, well
Right.
that's okay. Well, now I need to learn how that's done for you. Cool. That's for that for you. Cool. And that's the thing. And that's
Oh, that's so cool.
because I used to
I
bypass all of this because I'm just one of those people that likes maths naturally. So it
right.
wasn't that for me. I there was other subjects that I couldn't fucking be doing with. Argue weird enough, English, even though I'm now writing a book and have written books. Didn't like English, but again, still passed it because again, the hierarchical structure reinforces what it wants to. And that's the thing that annoys me as
That's
well. You will
incredible.
have people that get
I,
A's, B's. You'll get people that do these things without trying, and people get annoyed with it. It's like, yes, because the structure is there, reinforcing the way they do things. You
yeah.
get what society wants to put there. That person fits the way that they talk about things, the way that they write about things is the way that we accept. Therefore, they are here.
You
Automatic.
could actually put that structure into every subject in school,
Yeah.
every single one.
Yeah. Because there's
Because
an
in
inbuilt
history,
thing.
you're talking about World War and the strategies and all that kind of stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
so you relate that to something that I can understand,
Yeah.
then I might remember it. But just reciting slides,
But I
as a
mean,
teacher,
for you,
just
it'd be
reciting it like,
for you, we just go
like
through Sun Tzu's Art of War and talk about American football. It all works into the same thing.
right.
You have
Yeah,
have
and
a
I get it like that. But the
the,
problem is that not all teachers can have the time or the funds or the resources to say, okay, 90% of the class is going to be really awesome at what I'm teaching. They memorize the slides and they get an A on the test.
but here's the
But
issue.
I'm not going to take my time
I
for
did.
this one person.
I did.
I know, but that's why you wrote a book on it, and that's why we're here today.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Is the problem? It's further up than that because it's further up than just the teachers. It's the structure of education itself. It's all
Right.
built to do that. And on top of that, it's the terminology. It's the words we use. And I know there's people who go, oh well, different words don't mean anything. Fuck off. If you tell a kid, if you tell a kid when they're 4 years old, you're a dumbass, guess what? They don't do too well in school because they got told they're a dumbass. Like
Right.
you tell a kid,
And there are different ways of saying dumbass, by the way. It's like I was never told you are a dumbass.
yeah,
What it was I could notice the facial expressions, the rolling of the eyes when I asked a question, the
yeah.
all that to where I just assumed I was dumb.
Was it
Like
so
that's
one of
it,
the best way, and the reason I did relatively well with kids that push back against the system of education is
right.
I taught them chess. Now,
Yeah.
even though, and Magnus Carlsen will back me up on this for anyone that wants to argue this about chess, Magnus Carlsen is better than any one of you watching, so shut the fuck up. Magnus Carlsen talks about the fact that he doesn't feel himself to be more intelligent than somebody else. He's just better at the game. And but there is again stratification in society that says if you're good at chess, you're smart. So the kids that push back, hey guys, let's play some chess. Because suddenly now
Yeah.
they go, wait, I can do chess. I must be smart, even though every other teacher told them they're a fucking dumbass. And that's
Yeah.
the problem is if we treat them like that, they're reinforced to that. There's an anthropologist, and various other things because the time that it was in, called Herbert Spencer. This is the reference I was talking about. That was from the 1800s. But what he said back then is still true now. If you give somebody a child and give them every access to every resource that you want, tell that person what profession you want that kid to be, and they will be the best in that profession. Because if you treat them from that age with every single resource, and you tell them, you reinforce the fact they are good at this, they can do this, this is this, this is this, this is this. You put them into any cultural aspect you want, they can do it. Whether that's being a tribesman in the Mahamara, whether that's being an astrophysicist, whether that's being a boat captain in the middle of the Atlantic, whatever it is, if you take them early and treat them in that way, you take away all of the bullshit that society naturally gives to someone and just lets them be that. And that's one of the best things. Herbert Spencer had a lot of issues with the person because, again, 1800s. But that is very true, and it can be from any child. It doesn't matter. And this is the thing that people always argue. It's like, well, there's an innate ability, there's an inherited intelligence. No, there's fucking not. And no real testing ever really proves this. What it shows is that you get a similar result of intelligence from a child than you do their parents. Now, the problem is you have standardized testing that you're using for the child. Now, the resources given to that child generally match, unsurprisingly, that of the parents, which means their ability to learn, interact, and be told the same information is in line with their parents. It's not an inherited trait. It's just that, well, their father is a psychologist. Unsurprisingly, the kid does quite well at psychology. I wonder why that might fucking be. And that's the problem, is we put this idea of inherited intelligence through everything, and it's just how that person has then been able to take hold of something, how they've been treated and nurtured within that society. And this is why it's so pervasive against so many other cultures. So many other cultures, even within our own society, we find people from different backgrounds, whether that's down to their religion, their sexuality, their color of their skin, anything. There's a certain different subculture, as there is with so many different things. You know, subcultures can be as simple as one of you is a punk and one of you likes rock and roll, right? There's different interactions with how we think about things in different cultures, and that creates familial links in how we deal with certain things, in how we interact. This idea of meritocracy, where it's all on our own and nothing else. No, it's because Mary, Alan, and Sam all kind of taught me this shit so that I could put it down. And that's the thing that we need to look at far more. And that's why this idea of intelligence, as we push it into other cultures and around the world, when we look at things, always falls down. And always shows, unsurprisingly, well, we're the smartest. That's because you wrote the fucking test. It's like, my name is at the top of the paper, therefore I'm the best. No. There's a great thing. Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about this. And he says, so Neil deGrasse Tyson talks.
You got me going now, man. You got me going here. This is.
So there's a great one. Neil deGrasse Tyson, when he's talking about this and talking about the ideas of intelligence, and he talks about the fact that we don't really understand it, because if you get if you look at the difference in genetic makeup between us and a chimp, for instance, it's like 95%, 96%, whatever. And you can teach a chimp, teach a monkey or whatever to, figure out some rudimentary mathematics. They can put together 5 and this and okay, we'll give you an apple. That kid can do that. About the same level as like a 3 or 4-year-old. And he always says, what happens when we change that 2, 3, 4% in genetic code and we go up the other way? So there's an alien species that are 3 or 4% different from us, the same way that we are from chimps. Now we roll out Stephen Hawking and they go, oh, look, Stephen Hawking, they've got the aliens are there looking at us going, oh, look, they've got a person there that can do calculus in their head, just like little Timmy here. Because again, their 4-year-old for that species is miles ahead of what we see as intelligent. But again, we then still call it intelligence, even though it's completely removed from any real kind of backup.
Okay, so you've got me on the word of intelligence team right now, because that was a hell of a fucking locker room speech. I will tell you that right now. And because you related it, you know how I work. That was motivating as shit. So now I am on your side with this because it was inspiring. Like that's fun. But I have to tell you that God, I fucking love you so much for that because now I'll remember every single word you just said because it was emotional. I have emotional intelligence. You have a different type of intelligence, which
Different skill
by
set.
our powers combined, again, I've said this a million
We
times,
bring forth Captain Planet. Every time you say that, I'm going to say that
every
because
fucking
it's the
time.
same line. And there's kids. There are people in their 40s out there going, "Fuck Captain Planet." Yeah. But so it's one of the it's one of the things. It's we need to take away this idea of intelligence because all it does is reinforce the hierarchy.
Right,
Just a skill set. That's why so many times when you've said, oh, you're smart, whatever. I've corrected you, said I'm scholastically, I've got scholastic prowess. That's it.
right.
I'm.
And I have emotional prowess.
Yeah, your skill set is one that I can't do. However, as I've
Right,
said, if you then flipped them and actually had the right training, the right access to resources, we could both do each other's stuff. And I truly believe that. There's people out there that I've taught that still don't fucking believe me. I'm telling you guys, it's true. You can flip it. You give people enough time, enough access, and they can do it. The
yeah.
thing is, the thing that makes it so pervasive, so how many kids from like slum backgrounds or incredibly stricken countries will you see a news report about how they've got a massive IQ or they've just got into Harvard, they've completed their degree at 16. Why are they why are they seen as exceptional?
Right,
Because our idea of what intelligence means says that they shouldn't be able to do it because they're from a different background. So they are exceptional enough for a news broadcast. They got a news broadcast because they've done that, which
right,
completely undermines everything that their background can do that we can't. Completely undermines it, and it's so disparaging to anybody else from the same background that does just normally. Why the fuck
right.
aren't they
So
okay?
so obviously you're extremely passionate about this. So for everybody here, I'm a passionate person, and Up just showed me some fucking passion that I have not seen in a long time. I love this.
I mean,
So
like I say, it was my first book.
I'm gonna let you close this episode
Yep.
out with explaining the book
Yep.
and just get everybody jacked up, man. Come on, because you do have emotional intelligence. You got passion.
No,
You have that. Like,
passion's different. Emotional intelligence. Again,
blah
and
blah
this
blah
is the
blah blah
thing.
blah. Details.
So this is the thing because Francis, shut up. You tell me I'm finishing it. So this is the thing. Francis Galton, who talked
Yes.
about Francis Galton, who talked about the many intelligence theory,
Right.
and the one that kind of came up with that. He's the one that then said, "There's this." The problem is, again, you call each of them a part of intelligence, and that's the biggest issue for me. Stop calling it intelligence. Everyone has a different skill set because then you take away the hierarchy. So the book, as I say, and the reason I've kind of got the passion for this, even though again it's a shorter book than my last one, 140, 150 pages. It might get a little bit bigger as I'm correcting it, but not by much. Um, it's my first book. This is one of the first things. If I ever get round to, and I know there's at least like 20 different lecturers at universities that are going, yeah, why haven't you done your PhD yet? If I ever get around to do my PhD, it will be on this because this is what I look primarily throughout the book at the political and socioeconomic effects on the understanding of intelligence. And the reason I put it in those terms is because they are what separate a lot of us in terms of our diversity and culture. And someone's socioeconomic um, background has no ranking against anything else. It's only the way that we think that changes how it is. So it's called Smarter State of Mind. It is coming out on May 26th. This episode's coming out much earlier, but May 26th we'll get a little bit we'll get a description on there that gives you a link if you do want to go and get it. It's not going to be massively expensive at all. And it just talks about the fact that intelligence at its core, basically the word is the problem and the reinforcement of how we see it in our environment, in our society. The first chapter is it talked about how it's arrogant to even think that you're smart. That's literally how I open the book.
Oh shit. I might be arrogant then because
Well, so it's so the first the chapter of the first chapter is called the self-indulgent intellect. That's literally how I open the book. I am not nice about the concept of intelligence or IQ from date one. Like self-indulgent intellect. Chapter two, the IQ myth. I go in on this because it needs to be said from the start. Because there's a lot of books that might deal with different things about intelligence, but then they try and be softer. And it's no, we need to break through that. So let's hit it hard. Then we'll get into more of the nuance as the book goes on, and I hope that I do. Obviously, there's much more than what I've written, and that's why the bibliography for this is several pages long. And please, I do encourage people to, if you're getting the book, do look through the bibliography. Look at where some of these ideas have come from, and look at the ones that you agree with, and you better go and find them because there's a vast spread of works that I've used for this. And I'll talk about, sport is there's a chapter that talks about sport and how there's a kind of form of intelligence within sport about how people do things automatically, innately because of skill through practice and talent. Um, I am passionate about it. Like I say, it was the first book I ever wrote. It's what kind of started me on writing. Um, don't think that if you're someone that comes from the background of being called intelligent, that this book is there to attack you. It's attacking the society that has just assumed that there's a hierarchy. It shouldn't.
beautiful. That's the closeout right there.
so yeah.
Okay.
For anyone that was told, they were a gifted kid at school and then found things harder when they got older, you might like the book. But yeah, I hope you can go out there. It's Smart as a State of Mind. It's live on Amazon worldwide from May 26th, and yeah, please do go and check it out.
Awesome. And this has been Lobel Spark, and you know what? I actually might read now because we're gonna see. It's gonna be interesting. But thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
No
We'll
problem.
see you next time.
Thanks a lot.